going on, people? Myke C-Town here. Happy Metal Monday. So this is going to be a slightly different kind of video. I'm going to give a review of the latest Merker album entitled M, but I'm also going to talk about a couple things at the end of this video. So let's start with the review. For those of you that don't know, Merker is a one-woman black metal project from Denmark put together by Amelie Brun. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Amelie Brun has had her hands in all kinds of different types of musical projects. She's worked with hip-hop artists, as well as done some decent indie rock and pop projects. She's also a model, and now she's doing a black metal project. She had an EP that came out before this that I actually really enjoyed. I thought it had a lot of really interesting ideas, and the songwriting was pretty well done. It wasn't anything genre-bending or super innovative, it was just decent, atmospheric black metal done pretty well. When it was announced that she was doing a full length, I was definitely interested, but when it was announced that she was actually getting assistance from Garm from Over, I was stoked to hear it. You know, Over is one of my favorite bands. You know, I've loved everything that they've done, from the early black metal stuff to the kind of weird techno-ish midpoint that they had, to the more avant-garde, almost krautrockish later era of Over. You know, they can pretty much do no wrong in my eyes. So when I first listened to this record, my first impression was that it was really good. You know, I enjoyed what she was doing. It sounded pretty close to the EP. But here's the funny part. After a few more listens to this, I started to doubt my own sanity here. You know, most times with me, I'll hate a project and then end up loving it later on. And this situation was the exact opposite. Once I really listened to this project and analyzed what was going on here, I was actually disappointed. It was on the same path as the EP with the fast tremolo picking, the beautiful ethereal vocals, and the kind of prettier post-rock-ish parts, but there was one problem. And that problem is it seemed like a lot of the songwriting went to complete shit. You know, parts were totally mismatched, the riffs were thrown into songs that didn't really fit. It totally started to unravel for me. When it starts off with, and I'm going to mispronounce probably all of these song titles, so bear with me, but when it starts with Skogen Skoldu, it was pretty cool. You know, the harmonious vocals, the driving riff that almost gave me an older Alcé feel. That whole song was really good to me, and I really wish it could have stayed that way, because by track 2, it comes in with a riff that's just okay, and it sounds like it's setting you up for some serious shit to go down, and then the next riff hits, and it's like, what the fuck just happened? It just sounds like a boring, messy bunch of noise. You know, her vocals sound like shit, like there's a bunch of compression on them that doesn't sound cool, and then worst of all, they sound totally off. Like the music wasn't playing correctly in her headphones while she was recording her vocals. And the music overall just sounds really boring. From there it went to Own Born, and that's when I started to notice something. All her prettier stuff sounds really good, but it's when she starts to do the more harsh black metal sounding stuff that she totally loses me. You know, I really liked Own Born, but then Jeg Guden just came off boring and totally basic sounding. You know, it was a boring riff with nothing special going on with the drumming, and it was just totally led by the sung vocals, but those sung vocals are pretty much the same on just about every track, so it lost my interest after the first few times I heard them. And fuck, man, when it hits Morday, this record completely lost me. You know, at that point, I was like, where the riffs at? It starts off with some shitty, old-school sounding Metallica throwaway riff, and then it just rushes into this weird black metal part that totally doesn't fit, mostly due to the fact that there's a complete lack of a proper transition. That whole song was a failure for me. When I listened to it, I feel like this record, I would have really enjoyed it if she just went from making a beautiful post-black metal album and just left the more pure, harsh black metal stuff alone. I'm not sure what happened here, but it just sounds like she used up all of her cool ideas and riffs for that first EP, and on this she just kind of threw together a bunch of really weak, mediocre black metal riffs, and then tossed in some semi-interesting pretty stuff and hoped it would work. But for me, it just didn't. A lot of the ideas here are totally half-assed and not properly fleshed out. You know, the songs don't seem like they have any real thought behind them. The parts were thrown together haphazardly with no real care to song structure at all, and that may be super cool and black metal for you to say, fuck traditional song structure, but as a listener, this is really jarring, but not in a cool way. And again, these are not all bad parts. It's almost like a gumbo made of really good ingredients, but the meat is totally burnt and the veggies just haven't been cooked at all. And there's no seasoning. It's totally bland. You know, overall this record just comes off as okay. You know, it's not shitty, but it's meh. You know, you can call it an homage to all the older bands if you want, but that doesn't excuse mediocre and derivative riffs and an overall boring sound that we've heard a million times before and heard it done way better. You know, perhaps if you like the sound of a lot of the shoegazy black metal bands and maybe some of the more avant-garde black metal bands, that you should give this a shot. But for me, I'll stick with the originators of the genre rather than settling for some boring clone. Moving on, I have some stuff I gotta talk to my metal brothers about. Okay, and that's the fact that over time I've watched the metal fan devolve from a crew of dudes who loved music and didn't give a fuck what anyone else thought about them into a group of whiny, pretentious, crybaby little bitches. What started this whole thing came from two things. One was an email I got from someone who found the Leviathan review I did with Fantano. You know, he was doing the basic shit of calling me a hipster faggot, and even went as far as making a video about how I shouldn't be making videos. And no, I will not give his name to you guys because I don't want to give this guy any more publicity or views on his shit video. The other was a conversation I got into with a guy at a bar. I was wearing a Panopticon shirt and he kept staring at me like he wanted to talk as he was wearing an Enslaved shirt. And eventually we struck up a conversation about metal. You know, have you heard this band? Yeah, dude, have you heard this band? You know, basically the conversation that every music lover loves to have. And then it turned into a conversation about hipsters. And usually I'm kind of whatever about this conversation because I just don't care really about the hipster epidemic one way or another. But this conversation just rubbed me the wrong way. And perhaps it was because he was so, like, vehemently aggressive about his hate for what he calls hipsters. Or maybe it's because I've been hearing this so fucking much lately that I'm just fucking sick of hearing about it. You know, his point was about how hipsters were ruining black metal because their inclusion means some sort of degradation of traditional black metal values and core beliefs, and eventually this will mean a complete dissolution of the genre in general. My point to him is, one, you're being a paranoid jackass, and two, who the fuck cares? Black metal is not gonna die because some kid in high water pants and a white belt decides he likes black metal because he heard Death Heaven. Hipsters have invaded every single genre from metal to punk to jazz, to hip-hop, and guess what? Those genres are still there. Are they the same as they once were? No, but it's up to those of us who actually care about the music to keep them going. But we're not going to do this simply from incessantly bitching about hipsters. My who the fuck cares attitude comes from the fact that I've watched two of my favorite genres get invaded and appropriated by fly-by-night kids, aka hipsters. One is punk. When I was in 10th grade, I was the only one in my school that knew anything about punk. I had my Operation Ivy shirt, my NoFX shirt, and no one knew anything about this stuff. Then Green Day and Offspring got popular and it was a wrap. All of a sudden, jocks and fucking cheerleaders were running around singing, "I don't want to grow up." It was heartbreaking having these kids who used to throw food at me and punch me in the chest in the hallways now invading the one thing that made me feel safe for being different. You know, the next was hip-hop. In the 90s, when you went to a hip-hop show, it was a certain demographic that you saw. Going to see Dell or LP or Immortal Technique, you'd mostly see people who looked like me. And as time went on, that totally changed. You know, all of a sudden it was these dorky-looking fucking frat boys who heard Asher Roth and thought rap was the coolest thing ever. You know, I got into metal through hardcore. You know, a lot of my friends were into metal, so I heard bands here and there that I thought were rad. You know, stuff like Slayer, Sepultura, Morbid Angel, Carcass. And then I found black metal. Now, back then, black metal was, to us, Emperor, Cradle of Filth, Dark Funerals, you know, Satyricon, Samhael. And I heard the sound of these bands and I immediately loved it. I loved the darkness. I loved the melancholy and the sadness in this music. I didn't know shit about the ideology or the history behind it, and at the time I didn't care. And then I dove deeper and deeper into the genre, and it was like a rabbit hole. You know, I found bands like Mayhem and Darkthrone and Arcanum and Vlad Tepes, and I couldn't get enough of this shit. When I got into it, it wasn't popular at all. You know, not many people knew anything about this stuff. But fast forward some years, I started hearing every random jacknut around me talk about how much they loved black metal. And this was mostly due to Cradle of Filth. You know, Cradle of Filth was to black metal what Green Day was to punk rock. And I'll tell you a story. When my band was around, I remember getting contacted by another band whose name I can't remember, and they asked us to do a split 7-inch with them, and they told me they were a black metal band. So of course I wouldn't listen to their music, and honestly I don't remember what they sounded like, but once I saw pictures of how they looked, I was like, nope. These turds were in striped polo shirts, baggy jeans, and skate shoes. And I wrote them back and told them that I didn't think it was cool if they were calling themselves a black metal band, because they weren't, when they were clearly hardcore kids. And due to this, I had to decline doing the split. They got mad and tried to argue, but it didn't matter to me. The conversation was fucking over. After this, there were other bands like Spread the Disease and Prayer for Cleansing. 2 bands I can clearly remember who were appropriating the black metal sound, the latter of which was actually a Christian band. And this is no disrespect to either one of those bands, but I always thought this was complete horseshit. Now we're in a day and time where black metal has become totally popular with all kinds of people. People who we would never see wanting to listen to this shit. People who never tapped into that darkness that black metal represents. And of course, the locals are pissed. A lot of this comes from the way these bands dress. Yeah, exactly. So, Death Heaven looks like this, when most black metal bands look like this. So let's talk about clothing. When I see pictures of bands, I think the whole corpse paint and black metal garb is cool, but I'm gonna talk about myself for a minute. I wear cardigans. Why? I think they look good on me. I don't wear gauntlets. Why? Because I think they look silly on me. I don't wear fucking battle jackets or battle vests. Again, I think they look silly on me. Now here's the thing, they look great on other people. I see some of my friends posting pictures about these great vests with all these rad patches that they've made, and I'm always like, damn, that looks fucking awesome. But it's just not my thing. It would not look good on me. And if listening to metal means I have to wear some kind of fucking uniform where you can eat a dick. If these guys had the same sound but dressed in corpse paint and gauntlets, would you guys then be okay with them? Or is it the ideology that's the problem? So I understand the issue with liturgy. You don't get to waltz into black metal and decide you're going to completely change what the culture stands for. That's bullshit. I've never read this fucking manifesto that they put together because I think they're one of the shittiest excuses for a black metal band or a metal band in general that I've ever heard in my entire life. So reading the philosophy of a shit band doesn't sound interesting to me. I don't know that Death Heaven has any real philosophy, so I'm not sure what the issue there might be concerning their philosophy, but I guess if they're not singing about Satan or nature, that's a problem. I don't know. But here's where I think a lot of you black metal elitists are completely full of shit. You go on and on romanticizing the old days and talking about the old guard and what their philosophies were and how these newer bands just don't fit. What philosophies are these? The only philosophies that seem to be consistent with black metal is the whole idea of spreading darkness, the whole misanthropic sentiment, the whole we hate humanity ideal. So which philosophy is it that you follow, my elitist metal friend? If you really hated humanity as much as you claim you do, you'd be sitting in a room by yourself the majority of the time listening to black metal. Or you would just kill yourself, which I don't want you to do because I'm not a misanthrope. When a loved one of yours gets sick or dies, I want to hear you spouting off all this bullshit about how I'm black metal and I hate humanity, so who cares if they're dead? You won't do that. I don't want to see you post one more fucking rest in peace Jeff Hanneman, Euronymous, Dead, LSK, Tronder, or anyone else. You're full of shit the same way Christians who say they really think that you're going to hell are full of shit. Because think about this. If your mom really thought that you were going to go to hell because you didn't repent, don't you think that she would be banging on your door every single day and night begging you to repent? So, if your mom doesn't do that, then either she's full of shit too, or she doesn't love you. Or is it these weird, sketchy politics that certain black metal bands seem to involve themselves in that you feel shouldn't be questioned? Now if that's the case, to a certain degree, I actually agree with that. For obvious reasons, I don't support or agree with sketchy NS politics. But what I also don't do is complain about them. I just don't support them monetarily. And that's a purely personal choice that I don't impose on anyone, and I don't accuse anyone of anything. However, I will say I find it funny that you guys attempt to defend these politics when the curators and the purveyors of black metal themselves said that politics don't belong in black metal. So if that's the case, it's interesting that you defend these conservative politics but attack liberal ones. How about you stop being a fucking hypocrite and ignore the politics in general? This isn't to say that I don't get annoyed with hipsters being involved in something that I love. I do. I find it annoying when I run across some dude who doesn't really listen to the music or understand anything about the culture but chooses to run his mouth about it. You know, my man Count Blaggerith, he posted this hilarious post on Facebook about how he saw some comment from some kid who was talking about the new Death Heaven record, and he said something along the lines of, black metal is life, and there was a heart. Yeah, obviously that kid doesn't fucking get it, and that would annoy the piss out of me, just like, I got a story for you, when I was at this record store, and I was flipping through some metal records, and this fucking dickhead, frat boy with fucking khaki shorts, a tucked-in white collared shirt, and flip-flops, he walks up next to me with one of his other dorky-ass friends, pulls out a Burzum record, and he's like, hey man, you ever heard of Burzum? Yeah, he was in this band called Mayhem, and he killed this guy over the control of a satanic cult. It's pretty crazy, man. The whole time, my stomach was turning. You know, for reasons I can't explain, it just made me want to fucking puke, man. This stupid-ass jock was sitting here talking about a genre that I really enjoy without understanding it. So trust me, guys, I totally get the frustration with hipsters, but here's what I don't get. The constant fucking complaining about it. If this is all you talk about, you're fucking boring. Alright? If all you can do is complain about the people who are listening to the same shit you're listening to, but you get it more than they do, you're fucking boring. If all you can do is sit around being pissed off and throw insults at everyone under the sun because you feel like you're some kind of black metal gatekeeper, you're fucking boring. Alright? If all you can do is complain about how hipsters dress, you're fucking boring. If all you can do is complain about how you listen to this music first and these hipsters showed up and ruined everything, you're fucking boring. Whether you complain about it or not, people you don't approve of are still going to listen to this music. And the fact of the matter is, the more you complain about it, the more they're going to want to listen to it, because the more you try to make it exclusive, the more the outside is going to want to be a part of it. So for fuck's sake, shut the fuck up. Alright, shut the fuck up about people you don't like liking what you like. Shut the fuck up about people not dressing the way you should dress. Shut the fuck up about people not sharing the same politics as you. Just shut the fuck up and talk about music. Because here's the funny thing. Guess what hipsters do? Hipsters judge people based on the way they dress. Weird, huh? You know what else hipsters do? Hipsters love to talk about how they heard this band way before everyone else. Also sound familiar? Just like hipsters dig into your favorite band's background to find something that they can complain about, you elite fucks are doing the same thing with Merker and making it some huge discussion. Who gives a fuck? Don't like her boring music? Don't buy her boring records. Fact of the matter is this. If we all adhere to black metal traditions, then none of us would even be really talking about black metal. This isn't tape trading culture anymore. And I know personally I make videos talking to about 10 people. And I feel like those 10 people know who they are. The rest of my viewers are a total bonus. You know, we're making videos on the internet talking about black metal, which hipsters can easily find and get further immersed in the culture. So do you think you're really doing black metal a service by making public videos talking about which records to buy? If we all cared about black metal the way we're supposed to, we'd stop making videos right now, and we'd certainly stop making fucking Facebook posts about this shit. You know, do you really think Euronymous would have a Facebook page, or a YouTube page, or a Twitter, or a fucking Instagram? Typical jackassery where you pick and choose which rules you want to follow. You pick the ones which are cool, and then you condemn everyone else for not following the other rules. You sound like Christians again, don't you? In closing, I want to say I am over the hipster conversation, okay? Yes, hipsters ruin everything. Black metal is not special in this regard, and you are not special because you listen to black metal. I just want to say fuck you to these whiny, titty baby, wannabe elite, pseudo-evil fucking metal mafia members. Alright, you guys sound like total jack-offs, and you make it that much easier for the reputation of metalheads being stupid to continue being perpetuated. And if you think I'm talking about you, yes, I'm fucking talking about you. And if you kinda sorta think I might be talking about you, then odds are no, I'm totally not talking about you. Either way, should you care, I don't know, probably not. But just so you know, when you're sitting at your evil computer throne and you're typing out hard or yelling into your camera about how much you hate hipsters, I and a lot of others who like metal are laughing at you because you look like an asshole. So this is it. Myke C-Town signing off. But wait. I know I probably look too metal, so hold on a second. Let me fix that so it'll be easier to dismiss my opinion. How about this? It's got a rainbow on it, and it says "Make love, not war." No? Hold on. How about this? Perfect, right? So yeah, Myke C-Town and Katy Perry saying fuck you to you boring ass, whiny, metal elite babies, and saying thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I will see you guys next time. Alright? Peace!